Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast, with your industry veteran hosts, Michael Sandoval and Chris Tetzel. This podcast starts now. It really does. I like the way it does do the countdown. So 3, 2, 1. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers. My name is Michael Sandoval.
And I'm Chris Tetzel.
Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Well, I am not in the 7-day trial of Alaska weather for Texas. So
Yeah,
I'm assuming you're going to cancel your Alaska subscription.
post show. Yeah, so I think what Michael's talking about is here in Texas. He lives in El Paso and I'm in Dallas. And, we just had kind of a big snowstorm, but also cold. I mean, super cold for us. I think 3 degrees Fahrenheit. One time it was -2, like at night. 10 degrees. I mean, it was like 5 or 6 days, and we're still kind of in it. It's sunny today, but 30. It's going to get up to 36. But the point is a lot of people didn't have power. We didn't have hot water for 3 days. I was afraid our pipes were going to bust, but they didn't. Luckily, hot water came back on, and I think I took like 3 showers in like 5 hours. Because I was so excited.
Yeah,
It was so cold. I didn't take a hot shower. So.
It's amazing how quickly things go to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah, I know.
I still watch the news, local news in Dallas, and just watching all of the folks just. I just can't. People are just standing in lines and fighting. I mean, chopping down their own furniture to light it up. I mean, it's just nuts.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I heard all this firewood is gone, and just they couldn't sell enough, or they couldn't. They couldn't.
Yeah, it's gone. I mean, you gotta go chop down some more trees.
Exactly.
And folks are chopping down trees, but they forget that it's still wet. It won't light.
They didn't know. They get in there and this shit won't light.
Let's take down that tree we were going to do, and then all of a sudden they try to light it and just blah.
Exactly.
Takes days to dry out. But I will admit, for us, for good or for bad, for whatever it is, El Paso's on a separate power grid. We're on the West Coast power grid, the one that's connected to Edison, and we get a lot of our power from a nuclear power plant called Palo Verde. And so I think, and I can't say the percentage, but I feel it's a large percentage of our power percentage is from a nuclear facility. And when they were doing some of this thought, I guess El Paso was part of the discussion to deregulate, but they said, well, it's going to cost more because power distribution from the center of Texas is further away than the power distribution that we get from the nuclear power plant that's just only a few hours away. It tells you how far out we're over here.
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, what is it, like 8 or 10 hour drive from Dallas?
From Dallas, yeah.
Yeah,
that's tough. I'm glad you're safe, sir. I'm glad you're doing okay, and I wish you many more warm showers.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, to start off, you sent me a fascinating invite to an app called Clubhouse.
Yep.
And I felt immediately like an old man because
you are
was
old.
Like, what's this app called Clubhouse? I had to do this, had to investigate and look at it. But it's kind of like a talk if I were to say TEDS, the TEDS software, or the TEDS what do you call it? Not TEDS.
TED Talk.
TED Talks, right? Like you could host a proverbial Clubhouse talk, right? Just get people to listen in. And it seems to be like this, maybe almost like the podcast effect, but like this information distribution, easily distribution of people getting information. Do you know something called, I think it's called Speaker's Square or Speaker's Corner in London?
No.
So I think it's in Regent Park, but it's where we get the term to stand on one's soapbox. So in the Victorian area, on Sundays they would take soapboxes. There were these large crates, and they would stand on top of it, and then you would just talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so they would soapbox. They still do it, by the way. It sounds like a little bit this, but maybe not so much whinging.
Yeah, no, I think that's similar. We had this conversation a little bit before, but
Yeah.
basically, I've had an opportunity to get on there several times over the last week and just listen in on conversations, sometimes have conversations, and you can have specific topics. Look, it's been around a year, and the way you can get on is through an invite. So it was exclusive for a while, and now it's less exclusive because everybody has an invite now. Everybody's getting more invites, and they gave you even more than two invites. Now they give you five to pass
Mm.
along to different people. But basically, you could pick a topic like community strategy, and let's say you and me, let's look at peers over beers. Maybe we have a live peers over beers community call, and all of our followers that follow us on Clubhouse
Mm.
will get a notification to say peers over beers, Chris Detzel or Michael Sandoval, whoever's following you, get a notification. They come in and listen. You can also invite them to be a speaker as well, so that could be open. You could also have closed conversations, but it's just audio. It's live, But it's interesting because there's also a thing going around, and which I didn't mention this to you before, that Clubhouse. A lot of people are against Clubhouse because of the moderation is not there, right? So anybody can start up. They're talking about, there's some racism going on. There's a bunch of other stuff that,
Mm.
it's like anything. Anybody can get on and say whatever shit they want, And so,
Oh,
um,
I see. So,
so there's
well,
also a
mm.
big, so you know, I think it's kind of cool. And if there was somebody that said some racially bad things, maybe I would just leave, if I didn't like what they were saying. But I think it's probably more than that. Maybe if there's a way to say this person's being racist or this person's, report person or whatever, right? So they have some work to do, but I just see it as kind of it's pretty cool, but they have some work to do, I think, on the moderation and things like that.
Yeah, I think we're maybe talking about doing an experiment with peers over beers. We'll have to give it a go.
Yeah,
It's interesting. I would use this line a lot whenever I was trying to sell community to senior managers, and they would immediately go to, well, they may say some bad things about our brand,
yep,
and my response was, people are already saying bad things about your brand
yeah,
anyway. They're just out there. So it's better. There's two ways I would approach the subject. One, wouldn't you rather have an environment in which you can control the conversation? So that sometimes that plays well. You know, when I say control, sometimes manage would be a better word.
hmm,
And then another way is to say it's the it's kind of like the free market economy of good ideas. So in other words, if you truly are bad at what you do, then you kind of deserve what you're getting back, right? And you
mm,
should probably change. More than likely, the companies I've been with are pretty good at what they do.
yeah,
So, challenging their kind of hubris to say, no, we're actually pretty good. Then let your customers, clients respond in good kind. Let them take the battle, not you as the brand, right?
mm,
Uh, and eventually, the free market will kind of move, and that will get suppressed. It's interesting, like places like Clubhouse is probably the same way, right? So if you have something racially sensitive or something like that, folks will like run away, and eventually the popularity will go down, and free
yeah.
market wins. But there is a negative side to it, right? Which is it if it keeps going down, it's then therefore it starts to collect people who think the same, right? Like, yeah, that's right, this guy is right, and
It's
then
like
you
that one
create
thing that everybody got in on the Trump bandwagon. They left Facebook and got on that other thing,
exactly
right?
correct. That
What was
is
it
a
called?
perfect example. Parlor.
Parlor, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I never got on Parlor, but I was kind of curious to see what it was.
of
Never got a
course.
chance to really even get there, but come to
People
find
will
out,
shut
it's
it down.
a racial kind of racist type thing. Or I'm
Mhm.
not saying it is racist, but it became that way, and people started using it because they wanted their free speech.
Yeah, it's you create this environment which allows something that's had been morally, for right terms, and just socially repressed.
Yeah,
They gave it a Pandora's box, if you will. So I could see where something like this comes in. So yeah, they'll work on their moderation, and like all new technologies, right? They'll figure it out.
yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of cool. I think maybe is you kind of play with it for this next week, which I know you won't, but let's say you do, and I always jab Michael like that because
It's
but
tough. It's
he's always like,
tough.
"Yeah, man, I'll try that out."
Yeah,
Hey, did you
and then
do
like
that?
3 days
Oh
later,
yeah, I
finally
forgot.
installed it.
Yeah, I already uninstalled it. I was like, "No, dude, put it on so we could." But what I'd like to do is, just test it out. Like, during our lunches or during these peers over beers, we just turn on our phones and have a peers over beers on um, live chat, but also record it for our podcast. I think
Mm,
that's a good idea. See what happens.
yeah,
Do it a few times and maybe nobody shows up, but that's okay.
yeah. I know. I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Um, that being said, speaking about work,
Yeah.
I thought we would do a little bit of like, what are we working kind of session today.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you don't mind, I'll give it a go first, right? So,
Please do.
because what's been kind of hot in my mind recently is that from my vantage point, we're getting ready to change an entire financial core, right? This is the heart
Mm.
of how we manage financial content from our customers, and it's given me an opportunity to kind of talk about self help and self support, if that makes sense, right?
Yep.
And so I'm laying down that groundwork for community and for uh, hey, wouldn't it be great to allow our customers to help themselves, right?
Self help. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm crafting, some of the requirements, if you will, in terms that I think you would understand, or not. When I mean you, but us as community professionals would talk about, like a place where folks can go in and ask questions, where they can have a response that's relatively immediate, some sort of online chat portal. We can take that
Mm.
collection and put it into a place that, I don't know, let's just call it a community, a forum, a community, that kind of thing. And I'm
Try not
getting
to
like the
use that word portal. I'm
interesting.
not a big fan of that. But anyways,
What, the word community?
portal.
Oh yeah, portal is like the way of like Yahoo. Like when Yahoo first came out, they called it the Yahoo
Yeah.
portal.
Well, people still call it portals, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this is
I think
community.
if
Like,
you're of a certain age,
I don't know, man. I've heard it a lot in the tech industry, especially when you start talking to support people or kind of these folks that are doing self-help or
mm,
email stuff. Because it kind of is a portal a lot of times in their mind, because not community necessarily, but they just see it as another way customers have to log into something and use it.
right, right,
So,
right.
well, log into that portal, and I'm like, it's just not really. I don't like it. It just
Yeah,
sounds negative or something to me.
well, interesting.
Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. So I was having some excitement, kind of talking about that in that way, and it's given me a platform to talk about how we can change the way we help our members, right? So
Hmm.
today we spend, and it just reminds me about this the cell solution about community, which is, we because digitization is happening faster than we're doing it
Mhm.
internally, we're having to increase our and the speed is because of COVID, right? So COVID has
Yeah.
created no forced, let's use that term, a forcing function to go digital. And the core digital competency internally is still evolving. So
Yeah.
a lot of folks internally can't answer some of these questions, right?
Yeah.
And so I get them, I feel them, or whatever it be. But we have distributed that across many people in the organization. And if I took the time, and added it all up of how many people are answering questions, that in itself is a good sum. But
Yeah.
what's more interesting is because in the banking industry, we tend to go to our quote home branch, branch
Mhm.
A and branch B have their
Yeah.
customers, but they're all our customers. Branch A may answer the same question from branch B, but because they don't talk, we've wasted two times, right? The information. So
And
creating
you know what?
this,
They're not when they do go online to try to find an answer, they're not getting it.
yep. And you're right. So it creates that frustration. So for those individuals who are used to going online, not seeing it, if they have to call, they call their branch, and they're already frustrated. And
Yep.
so I'm using that kind of moment of this change to help create that structure. So it's good to start at the very beginning again, to kind of like, hey, and I think it'll manifest interestingly, right? So I think until we get there, I think we'll do more of a chat interface first, a very robust chat interface,
On the main website. Yeah,
right? And then get
makes
folks to
sense.
move that into an FAQ database, and then eventually that'll, I think, it will be enough to seed the community. But that's what is going on my side. How about you, sir? How's the new job? Have you built your
That's
community
good.
yet? Has it launched yet?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you're what, week 6?
2 months officially today.
All right. Well,
So
let me know when I get my invite for your new community.
yeah,
Imminent,
I was
right?
talking to somebody today, and she was like, "Hey, the sooner we can have community, the better. Like maybe you can do it by March." And I'm like, you know, it's like,
The sooner you can actually build the stadium, the Coliseum of Rome, the better.
I look, um, I get it. Like I'm as excited as they are. So it's not that I don't want it sooner. I do. But I think that people think you can just throw up a community and then all of a sudden all these people are going to come. And I'm like, and I told her, I said, hey, look, I'm supposed to get the design stuff today, so
Mm,
I'll finally get the look and feel. But
yeah.
that's take a couple days to kind of look at. I probably have to talk to marketing or somebody to say, hey, yep, you're on track or whatever, or no, I would change these things. I said I'm still going through some legal discussions that they're asking me to move the T's and C's at the top right over here and there and that kind of stuff. And you know, and I said, and then the harder part is now I got to find the customers that are willing to seed the community and be kind of the founders
Yeah.
or the and I said, I've started that, but that's always kind of difficult since I've only been there for 2 months. I have no, and I said, I'm asking people to do it. And I said, there are some things you can do to help. I said, but I said, there's just a lot to do for one person. And then even for me to go get and build a team of virtual people, which I have, it's still hard because they say they want to go do some stuff, but they're busy all the time. And so I got to push, push, push. So I just tell them, look, April, May 1st now, it's April 28th is kind of a soft launch, I guess, but May 1st is the official date that's going to go live. I feel confident that it's going to go
That date
live.
is good.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
look, I'm not done with everything, like I still have, but, I think it's doable. It might not be perfect, but it'd be close to where we want to go.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been working on. Legal sent me some more stuff to do and, thought we're done, but I think
Oh
we're
yeah,
close.
that team.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's just something you have to go through, and it's better to work with everyone that you can to get the buy-in. I'm still confident no matter what. Look, I've got this is a big company goal. I think I told you is my boss said a couple weeks ago, Chris, no pressure, but community is going to change the culture of all of Reltio.
But
And I
no
was like,
pressure.
but no pressure. And I'm like, okay. I mean, because it's true. I mean, the way we interact and engage with our customers and partners will change. It won't change overnight, but it will. Getting those answers there, pushing those customers, from a support deflection standpoint, pushing those people into community. You know, I heard some stat today from a support person. I'm like, I don't know about that, but um, we're looking at deflecting 95% of our cases to go to community, and I'm like, well, 95% is a
Ooh.
lot. Like I don't really.
Well, you know what? Maybe there's an opportunity to set expectation, right? So
Yeah,
one of the learnings I've had is when you said that, that immediately kind of triggered this like twitch, which was uh, this immediate, Shangri-La feel of like once community goes up, then like it's like a scene out of the Wizard of Oz at the very end, right? So
yeah,
it's not like that. So we remember we talked about when we were together that there's a ramp phase,
yeah. That's right.
and it takes effort from the organization, right? It's just like rolling something downhill, that it doesn't start until somebody pushes. And that is energy. That energy
Yep,
comes in form of individuals' time.
yep,
You either purchase those resources or whatever. And eventually, once you get some critical mass, then it'll start to take off itself, right? And that
yeah,
time to do that is unknown. right? Sometimes 9 months, it
I
depends.
know people are like, how long does that take? I was like, I mean, let me say best guess is it could take 6 months. It could take a year. Like I don't know, but I have to do a lot of put. I always do it like this: is so my left hand is up on the top and my right hand is at the bottom, and your organization's at the bottom, or I mean, your organization's at the top, customers at the bottom, and then as time goes on, you have to push. The organization has to push content, has to push programs, has to get people engaged and involved. You have to answer questions for customers when they do get it and do it quickly, and then customers start to trust over time, and then when they do, then they start getting engaged and involved through you know uh, being rewarded and recognized and being happy that they're answering questions and trusting that this thing is going to work. It
Mm.
just it's a lot of things that um, it has stick out. I mean, customers don't trust. I mean, it's not. It's like this. I mean, I go into a running community, for example, even if it's online or offline, maybe it's face to face. I don't just start. I mean, I do start talking to people, but you know, I'm not best friends with anybody. I'm not going to be like, hey, I know everything about running or whatever, right? Like I've got to get in there. Even if I do, I don't. But let's say I did. But the last thing I want to do in general is to I've got to kind of look at the audience. How do I fit in? And that could take weeks or months or
Mm.
whatever, and it just doesn't happen overnight. It's the same thing. Go online. People are a little timid to post their first question or answer a question or whatever, and so that's one. Then you got to get them to come back, so that's another thing. They come back once, they come once, doesn't mean they come back a second time. So you got to have good content. You got to have something that's valuable, and all that stuff. So
I was gonna, as you were talking through, like this thing popped in my head. Like you could almost start setting the stage. I mean, I know you have a lot to do, so you're probably the
yeah,
team
yeah,
of one again, but
yeah.
maybe you could float this to the marketing team or something, or where you can have a leak campaign internally where the subject matter is, are you ready for? It could be a couple of terms. Are you ready for community? Are you ready for a more intimate discussion with customers? Are you ready for?
Hmm.
Are you ready? You know, are you ready to? Uh, you know, it, I'm trying to think of the word like to. Are you ready
Yeah.
for right? And that leak campaign says it allows you to do two things. One is begin telling people and set expectation what community is going to do,
Hmm.
and two creates that each department has you must get ready for, right? It applies some authority of what are you going to change and how are you going to change over the next say 6 months to when the time comes you're going to be asked to help a customer online. So are you ready? What does that mean? Do you know what it means to post? Do you know how to answer questions? Do you know how to, as you just said, those things you were talking about, you can almost spend some time in that education before you go out.
Oh, so you mean a leak campaign within the organization?
Inside, yeah, not outside, inside.
Okay.
And reason I say inside is because I think we've always said this: the value of a member coming to the community is not you or me; it's
Right.
the subject matter experts. So, in a sense, they
Yeah.
have to be ready. And you just mentioned that you feel like that your CEO wants to fundamentally change and use
Yeah.
it. That's a great platform to start setting that stage.
I agree. Well, I've done a little bit of that, but I do like that idea of, maybe doing some kind of campaign to each department, or, you know, I've tried to do individually, or I've tried to get on teams' calendars, like the marketing team or the product team, or you know, the um, different teams that run different departments, sales, SEs, the smart people, to let them know, hey, and I've even created you could call it a community team, if you will, and we have weekly meetings. I'm going to push that back to every other week because literally, I mean, I run out of things to say every week. I don't have something to say every single week, um, but I agree. I think that's a pretty good idea, and I think I might use that.
Well,
But I also think we could do something with customers too, so I can get content from them.
yeah, I start roping it into something that's kind of big, but you're very. I think your value is being able to be very personal. So I think you could just break this up into three simple 5-minute videos that you post
Mm,
on, say, March,
Slack.
April, and
Oh
May.
yeah.
And it's
Ooh,
just the Chris Detzel talk show, 5 minutes, and saying, this month, here's how you're going to get prepared, and this is why, and be done. Post it on your favorite video channel, and then you can say, "The wizard has now spoken. Be forth and communitize."
Don't tempt me, man. I'll start kind of noodling that around and be like, I'm gonna do it. And then I'll bring this intro, be like,
yes, exactly.
My name is Chris Detzel, and I am the community.
The wizard of community.
You must listen to me now. When a customer posts, you must reply quickly. Yes, we want other customers to do it, but we need you to do it first.
Yeah.
Don't ask why. Just fucking do it.
Just fucking do it. I have spoken. Return to work. All is well.
Aha. Done. Next. Because it works that way.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, well, Chris, I think we're at the top of our time, and it's a good way to end it on something that's a little bit, I don't know, Machiavellian.
Yeah, it's a good word, I guess.
Alas, my friend, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so very much, and thank you for another episode of Peers Over Beers. I am your host, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm Chris Detzel.
All right, talk to you later, Chris.
All right.